Wrong screen. Good morning, guys. Welcome, or good afternoon even. It's 12 o'clock. Good afternoon, guys. It's lunchtime. Welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation. I'm Owen James. This is Glasgow Rangers Nation. Sorry about that complete fuck up of a beginning there. Don't know what went wrong. Literally just walked back in. Been out this morning. Been out doing the dreaded Christmas shopping this morning, which is actually, do you know what? Included, unfortunately, a trip to the CBS Arena to buy some Coventry City things for my stepdaughter. My stepdaughter is a Coventry City fan. Yeah, I know. Hold my hands up. Not my influence. Not my influence, guys. Yeah, my stepdaughter's a Cov City fan. She even goes to the games. You know, it's a sad state of affairs, isn't it? Sad state of affairs. Anyway, look, we're going to talk all things Rangers this morning. We've got a poll running, obviously. Please, vote in the poll predictions for tonight's game. What do you think the score will be, or what do you think the result will be? Will it be a Rangers win, a Hibs win, or will it be a draw at Ibrox tonight? A game that we really must win tonight, I think, to continue to put pressure on Hearts at the top of the table and to really put a Celtic team in crisis under stress as well. Welcome to Linda Williamson, who's become part of the Nation Loyal. If you want to become a member, it is only 99p. Just a reminder, you can, of course, support this free channel, guys. We don't charge you for content in lots of different ways, through becoming a member, through watching the content, through subscribing, through super chats, super stickers during lives, and obviously getting your comments in, getting your views in, getting everything you want to say off your chest here this morning, this afternoon, whenever you're watching this pod, really. Airwolf is already in there. Gotta say, Airwolf has one of the best usernames ever. I've got to say, because it was a program I used to love watching as a kid. I mean, it was one of my favourites. Airwolf, loved it. Stringfellow Hawk, Dominic Santini, loved it all. Nancy, 0% win record, makes Russell Martin look like Klopp. Did anyone see, by the way, that guy, the St Mirren fan, at the game yesterday, jumping up and down, giving it that, which was hilarious anyway. Look, spitting dabs of Jurgen Klopp. Did you see him? Absolute spitting dabs of Jurgen Klopp. It was proper hilarious. He really did look like him. You know, is Jurgen Klopp a closet St Mirren fan? Yeah. So there we go. Look, let's get on with it. We're going to obviously, please subscribe. Please obviously hit that like button on the video as well. Right, we'll talk about tonight's game. We'll talk about players possibly heading out in January. Good afternoon, Janet. How you doing? Nice to see you in the chat. We will be back tonight, guys, with a live watch along for the game. So if you if you want to watch the match and then obviously watch with us and get rid of the crap commentary, then obviously please come and join in and get your views, comments in throughout the game tonight. Would be nice. Let's open with a few facts, shall we? Some key facts before we get going. So, Rangers versus Hibs at Ibrox. There have been 154 games between Rangers and Hibs at Ibrox. We've won 107 of those games. So, pretty decent record against Hibs coming into this game tonight. 154 games in total. We've got a 69% win percentage. Not a 6-7 win percentage, a 6-9 win percentage. Apparently that 6-7 thing is down with all the kids in it. That's what my kids tell me. Hibs have won only 21 of those games, and there has been 26 draws during that period. So it's the 155th game between Rangers and Hibs this in the history of our fixtures. Because of course, as we are all aware, this club started in 1872, despite what the other side of the city might tell you about 2012 and all that crap. But we don't listen to them, do we? Especially, of course, as it's all falling apart just a little bit over there, isn't it? Obviously, there's games this season so far. We've played them twice already this season. We beat them at Easter Road 1-0 back on the 29th of October. Danilo with the only goal. And of course, then there was the League Cup win, a 2-0 League Cup win in which Nicholas Raskin and Bojan Mijovski. More of him shortly to come, guys. We'll have a little bit of an update on old Bojan. That is to come. Please hang on for that. A little bit of more news. Rangers v Hibs. The last time Rangers lost to Hibs at Ibrox was in February 2018. They lost 2-1 in that game. Since then, we have been 21 games unbeaten against them at home in all competitions. So, look, it is hopefully trending towards a good result tonight. Hopefully trending towards a Rangers win, and that's what we need. You know, at the end of the day, it's all about getting that win, isn't it? It's about getting that victory tonight. And if we go back to 2018, guys, if you want to go back to 2018 for a minute, 2018, what was that? 7 years ago, a bit of a time ago. You know, that was the last time we lost them. I mean, that's pretty mad, isn't it? 2018, the 2018 season at Ibrox, it was 2-1 to them. Let's have a little look at that game. Here we go. That game. Let's have a little look back at who was playing in that game. Now, guys, referee that day was one Mr. Willie Collum. Are we surprised that we lost that game? Probably not. The Rangers lineup that day was Wes Foderingham in goal, a back four of James Tavernier. Yes, even 7 years later, he's still here. Martin, yes, the very same. We've got Bates and John as a back four. Goss, Holt, Candeas, Windass, Murphy and Morelos up front. The bench that day, Jack Anick, Fabio Cardoso, Lee Hodson, Greg Doherty, Joseph Dudu, and he was, Jason Cummings, Eduardo Herrera, and the manager was Graham Murty. The Hibs team that day was Marciano in goal, not Rocky, Bartley, Porteous, Ambrose and Stevenson. They had a midfield five of Boyle, still at the club, McGinn, Allen and Barker, and Cambieri up front. Their bench that day, Cammy Bell, Sean Mackey, Facial Raheras, Swanson, Murray, McLaren and Shaw. They were managed by Neil Lennon. John McGinn scored for them, the Villa player. Sean Goss got the equaliser for Rangers with an assist by Josh Windass. And Jamie McLaren scored a penalty in the 75th minute to win the game for them. So that's the last time we lost to them. Long time ago, guys. Let's hope that stays and remains as the last time we lost to them. After tonight's game, we'll have a look at our opponents in a minute. Let's get some of your comments just coming in. Airwolf says Gogic should be signed in January. I've got to say, I do like Gogic. He is a player, wholehearted, never say die trier, isn't he? You know, whether or not Rangers will go down the route of signing someone like a Gogic, I don't know. You know, is that the way the club's trending? Is that the way the club's going? I don't know. He's a good footballer. He's a trier. And I suppose the one thing Airwolf, and I think would be right in saying this, is he's a player who gets the Scottish Premier League, who understands Rangers, who understands, I think, what we have to come up against in this club, in this environment of the Scottish Premier League. So I think he certainly would fit into that and help the club out. Janet says, hopefully Rangers players watched the game yesterday and start rolling up their sleeves. We can still win this league. I think you make a very good point there, Janet. I think you make a very good point there. This league is not done and dusted. I released a short on our TikTok channel earlier, and I spoke about how I think, you know, if you look at the way Celtic are going, Celtic fans this morning, I had Talk Sport on in the car when I was driving into town, and they are raging. They are proper raging. You got Martin O'Neill telling them that they need to give Wilfred Nancy time, and Celtic fans begging Martin O'Neill to come back and wanting Nancy sacked. I must say that club is a mess. It is a mess. I mean, for me, if I'd been involved with that club, which I'm glad I'm not, I would have kept O'Neill to the end of the season and then appointed a new manager. I don't get why they rushed into it. Nancy's trying to change the system. He hasn't got the players to suit the system. It's all coming apart a little bit. And as I said on the video this morning, Celtic are falling apart again. But it's funny to see, isn't it? And look, Hearts are a good side. I'm going to praise Hearts, you know. Hearts are a good side. They're a very good side. They play some good football. They do very well. Derek McInnes has got them very, very well organised. But look, they're not unbeatable. They certainly are not unbeatable. You know, they're not unbeatable. And I honestly think that it's a game. You know, games against Hearts are games that we can win. They are games that we can win, and with the right acquisitions in January in the right place, in the right places, yeah, the league isn't over. And I know, Airwolf, you said in your comments, let's just quickly get to that comment you wrote here, fans have to be realistic about January. January won't fix all our issues. I don't think it'll fix all our issues, but I do believe it could help move the club forward. It could help the club be competitive for the rest of the season. You know, if you look at other managers who've come in and made a difference, you know, in terms of their signings, and even 3 to 4 signings making somewhat of a difference. I think with the league being the way it is this season, with Celtic being an absolute mess, with Hearts being Hearts, you know, I think a club that haven't had that experience of going a full season, at the top of the league with the pressure all been on them. I think they're very much used to playing and obviously being the underdog. They're now the hunted, aren't they? They are the hunted. So yeah, I think in terms of that, they are not unbeatable. If we were to get a result against them in our next game against them, it really does put the pressure back on them. And I think with the right buys in January, whether that be that Muyamba that we spoke on the video this morning, or the Norwegian lad, I don't know. I think with the right 3 or 4 signings in January, we can be competitive going forward. Airwolf says it's Letsin Camoes, another Tromso player we should look at. I don't know a great deal about him. I'll go and do some research. Would take Braga from Hearts in a heartbeat, but Hearts will want good money for him. They will now, Janet. Certainly, they will want a substantial increase on the 400,000, I think it was, they paid for him. See, Clement got a good win. He did. I wish Philippe Clement all the very best at Norwich. Obviously, no ill feeling towards him at all. I hope he does a great job down there at Norwich. Historic club down here in England, a club that's been in and out of the Premier League on a number of occasions. So yeah, wish him all the best. Airwolf says Mwanshi, I suppose is that the Motherwell guy? Would you take him? Yeah, I mean, look, he looks a good footballer. He looks a good player, and you go back across my videos and you go back across what I've said previously. I've always said that we need more players to come in who've got SPL experience, who understand the league, who understand what it is to be to play for Rangers, who understand the pressure that Rangers are under. I think even if you play for Hibs or Hearts or St Mirren or St Johnstone or Livy or whoever, in terms of the old firm, that Celtic and Rangers are expected to win every single game. That Celtic and Rangers are under pressure to win every single game. So I think you would come in with that expectation and that understanding that you would have to hit the ground running. You would have to win every single game. I think once you've been here in the goldfish bowl that is Scottish football, you get it. You start to understand it. And I think, as a few of you have pointed out on the videos that I've done so far, in terms of, the players that have come in the summer from England, there's a lot of them came here with a very much an arrogant, well, piss this, it's only Scotland league. And I think it's all fallen apart because of that. The likes of Asgard, your likes of Rothwell, your likes of Chimity have struggled because they just thought Scotland was a walk in the park. I honestly think that when Kevin Thelwell bought Yusuf Chimity, he thought that, I'll bring in Chimity, he'll suddenly start scoring goal after goal after goal, and I'll look like a genius for bringing him in. Well, didn't work, did it? The guy's genuinely not very good. So, I think there is a need, and as Airwolf says, need more Broadfoot Boyd types who are SPL proven. Exactly. If you look at, Chris Boyd, a guy who scored, tons of goals for Rangers in the SPL, scored goal after goal after goal. Didn't particularly do great in Europe, but could do it in Scotland. So yeah, I do think there is a need for that. An absolute need for that. And I don't want to spend ages banging on about this, but if you go back to Walter Smith's time and you look at Walter's teams, the majority of Walter's teams were Scottish players. You look at that team that made the UEFA Cup final that lost to Zenit St Petersburg. I think 7 or 8 out of the starting 11 were Scottish. They were guys who got what it was to play for Rangers, who got the league, who got an understanding of how to win for this club and could deal with the pressure of playing for this club. As we know, the jersey is a heavy jersey. It's a heavy jersey. So yeah, for me, spot on. Janet says, we don't need players with fancy names from foreign countries. We need players who understand Scottish football. Exactly. Get the St Mirren guys. Ayunga and Gogic says we are the people 6-5-2-8. Yeah, good buys. Ayunga looked good yesterday, didn't he? 2 good goals in that win for St Mirren. And look, I've got to say, putting aside, my hatred for Celtic for 1 minute, fair play to Stephen Robinson. I'm made up for the boy. I'm made up for Stephen Robinson that St Mirren have won that cup. We weren't in it, so fair enough. I'm glad they've gone there. I'm glad they've got that result, and I'm made up for Stephen Robinson. He's done a brilliant job there. He's turned them into a very good side. Got them playing some decent stuff. Fair play to Stephen Robinson. I'm made up for the boy, really am. Bless him. He's done a good job, and all the best to him for the rest of the season. Not obviously in games against Rangers, but all the best to him for the rest of the season. Barron's less effective in Europe, but good in the SPL. That's exactly right, Airwolf. There's a lot of these young Scottish players and some of these other Scottish talents who may not be as effective in playing in Europe, and it's almost like you have to have a European team and an SPL team, or you have a group of Scottish players who can play within the SPL, but are perhaps not suited to Europe. Chris Boyd been a classic example of that, and obviously you bring up Connor Barron there. Lots of our signings have been players who came off bad seasons. Exactly. And I think, look, Europe's done now this season. I think we forget Europe. We've got 2 games left in Europe, but I don't care if he plays the youth team in these last 2 games, and I think he should. I think he should play a lot of the squad players. I think he should play some of the younger players. The Europa League now is done. It's over. You know, it would take a miracle. It's not mathematically impossible, I don't think, for us to qualify, but it is practically impossible for us to qualify. So, you know what? Just let them get on with it. Let's just put out the younger players and focus on our league and cup campaign. That's the way it's got to be. Hello from Toronto. It's Sid. Hey, Sid with a new name, Benidorm167. Why Benidorm, mate? What have you got that for? Jim Cunningham says, yesterday was an example of why hard work pays off. Well done to St Mirren, kind of made my Sunday. It did mine too, Jim. It was a very tough day yesterday. Wasn't a great day yesterday, guys. Really wasn't. It was a pretty bad day. Yeah, unfortunately, my wife's cousin, who was only young, passed away yesterday, so it wasn't a great day for the family yesterday. Airwolf said, why are we too arrogant towards SPL talent? Good point, mate. Good point. You know, I think there's a need to have a core of SPL players in there. I do think there's a need to have a core of Scottish talent who get the league, who know how to play in this league, who can develop within this league. So yeah, absolutely. Janet says we have to get rid of the idea that we need fancy players and start looking at lower Scottish teams. No disrespect to them, but you can pick up some good players if you look. Yeah, ones that can cope in Scotland, and then perhaps some players with some fancier names for Europe next season, obviously. Right, look, there's a lot of talk, obviously, you know, around this game tonight, around the Hibs game. Hibs going into tonight's game, you know, currently are where they sit. Ouch. They sit 5th, just behind us in the table. They've got 24 points to our 26. They've played 16, won 6, drawn 6, lost 4 of their games in the league this year. In terms of how they've played this last few games, have a little look back at the kind of history, the kind of how they've gone on in recent times, shall we? So Hibs recently, last time out, Hibs won 3-0 against Falkirk, a decent result at Easter Road. They lost 2-1 at Easter Road to Celtic. I mean, that's a pretty amazing achievement to lose to Celtic. Yes, I know it was Martin O'Neill's Celtic though, wasn't it? They lost 2-0 to Motherwell away from home. They won 2-0 at home against Dundee. They won 3-0 away at St Mirren. Drew 2-2 away at Livy. And then obviously it's the Rangers. They lost 1-0 to us at Easter Road. Won 2-1 away at Pittodrie. So, you know, you look at their last couple of away games. Results have not been overly impressive in their last couple of away games. A defeat to Motherwell, a draw with Livy, and a win against St Mirren. So a mixed bag of results there. You know, their last 5 games, you know, at home and away. You know, again, we're looking at what? 3 wins out of the last 5. So their form is okay coming into this game. It's not dreadful. It's not brilliant. It's not dreadful. In terms of the last time out when they played against Falkirk, their team that day was Salinger, who is quite a decent keeper, Cadden, Magua, Ohora, Bashiri. I like Rocky Bashiri. He's a good player, a good scrappy, fighty player. Another player perhaps that we should be looking at. Airedale, Chalawa, Newell, Balassa, who apparently played very well in that game. Josh Campbell, Josh Mulligan, a player that Rangers definitely should have signed. I think he was very much on the list, shall we say, for the summer. However, because he was a Coppen target, he was kind of cast aside. Same way as Umar Kamara, who is doing very well out in Portugal at this moment in time, was cast aside because he was a Coppen target. Jamie McGrath, Martin Boyle, Ellie Yuan, Kieran Bowie and Dylan Levitt were their starting 11. Were the players that got on, obviously, and played last time. That was their full team. Their goals last time out came from Kieran Bowie with 2. He is, of course, their big danger man, the player that we need to watch tonight, a player we need to keep under control, along with another player that we need to keep an eye on tonight and keep under control. That's Martin Boyle. He also scored for them against Falkirk in the last game. So, you know, they're coming off the back of a win. They're coming off the back of being a pretty good Falkirk side. So fair play to them. What have we got in our comment section now? Sid says we need Sterling in tonight starting. I agree. I think Sterling... Look, Sid, for me, Sterling is a very good footballer. He's a very good footballer. I know the injuries are a massive black mark against him. The fact that he can't take... he can't play a lot of games. That he is, missing a lot of games. But, when he is available, when he is fit, he is a good footballer. He's quick. He's strong. He looked good the other day when he came on. I like him. I really do. I think he's a good footballer. I would start him tonight. I would really, really would look at starting him tonight and giving him the best part, giving him, either the right back slot, or if not the right back slot, putting him in, as a centre back. If we're going to go with a back three tonight, looking at perhaps playing him there. Maybe I don't know. Look, in terms of injury news, for tonight's game, I know lots of people are asking about, obviously, Nadim Bayrami. You're asking about, obviously, Bojan Miovski. We'll get to that in a minute. Or we'll talk a little bit about that. Let's have a little look. Wee Dodds wasn't popular with the fans. He helped us win 3 trophies. Correct, Bojangle? Yeah, these Scottish players that come in and help us win trophies. That's what they do. The John Browns of this world. The Chris Boyds of this world. Would take Bowie, says Airwolf. Yeah, good player. But we'll do a Bayrami update in a minute. Sterling is a must tonight, says Janet. Williams says Mulligan and Kamara. Thelwell cancelled, both on a free. Brought in Aarons and Chimity instead. Yeah, it just shows what a dreadful sporting director he was, wasn't he? I mean, he wasn't great. I think Kamara's got something like 11 goal contributions this season for I can't remember who he's playing for now in Portugal, but he's playing for somebody in Portugal. And Mulligan looks a player. And I think a lot of it was snobbery, was because it was a cop and target, because it was cop and deal, it was cancelled. I think, to be honest with you, if the Lyle Cameron thing hadn't been legally binding, I think we would have pulled out of that one as well. I really do. I really think he would have tried to pull out of that one as well. He is a leader. Sterling always seems to have this mean look on his face. He does. Afternoon, David. How you doing? Stephen says, give Jack Butland the captain's armband. We should be giving the young ones a chance to prove themselves. Lyle Cameron on from the start. I agree. Janet says Thelwell was a clown. Yeah, I mean, look, in terms of the fitness updates, look, it is... I'm doing Emmy. How are you doing? Well, doing good, buddy. Doing good. In terms of, the fitness updates on these players. Right, so what do we know? In regards to the fitness updates? Now, Nadim Bayrami, look, again, touch and go, whether he'll be able to play or not. It says this is what Danny says. He said, looks like a muscle injury for Nadim. He didn't feel so bad, but the scan wasn't positive, so now we have to wait and check on it one more time. It will be week by week, but hopefully it won't be long. If you count up these injuries, it's a lot of players who've had these problems. I'll be honest with you, I don't think that it is trending towards Nadim Bayrami playing tonight. I don't think he will be available tonight. So I think that hopefully presents an opportunity for, for someone like a Lyle Cameron to come in, maybe. Someone like a Finlay Curtis to come in. Someone like that to come in and have a part to play tonight. I think, that would be a huge positive if... if those players were to come in and make an impact. I don't think we'll see him. Harvey Rowan, this guy called Umar Kamara from PSG, was a young French lad. I agree, David, he was. Kamara was the young striker convinced to sign from PSG under 21s. He was a winger, William. But yeah, he was a good player. He's turned out to be a good player. Definitely was turned out to be a very good player. Right, look, let's have a little look at Bojan Miovski news now. So, Danny Rohl is apparently, again, worried, obviously, whether Miovski will be available. Now, look, it's mad, isn't it? To be sitting here kind of on the 15th of December, talking a little bit about Bojan Miovski and being worried about Bojan Miovski starting or not starting. I think a lot of us would have looked at Bojan Miovski a couple of weeks ago and said, do you know what? Couldn't give a monkeys if he's available or not. I don't care. Let's just try and score some goals with somebody because he's not great. But he's really proved himself in the last couple of games. And he got that great goal against Ferencvaros. He got a couple of goals against Killy. He's looking like he's getting back to the player he was. And I think, look, if you look at it in terms of him, the one thing you've got to remember is that guy didn't have much of a pre-season, didn't have a great deal of involvement for Girona last season. I think he'd lost a lot of his sharpness. So I think now he's getting a run of games. Now he's getting an opportunity to play. You're seeing him have more of that sharpness come back. And when we know that Miovski can score goals in the SPL, he did it for Aberdeen, for goodness sake, I think it's about using him in the right way. And I think also there was an element with Russell Martin, and also I think to some extent when Danny Rohl first came in, of not using Bojan Miovski in the right way for me. So I think that's starting to do that a little bit. But there is certainly a worry that he won't be available for tonight. Like I say, he scored 3 goals in 2 games. He is bang on form. Now, on Friday, Danny Rohl said this about Bojan Miovski. He said, "It's too early. Let's see. I think the next 48 hours will decide if he's available or not. We are doing everything at the moment that we need. It looks at the moment like a kick. Normally that's not long term, but you never know. I think that's the reason why we have to wait for a reaction from today and tomorrow. Then we can say more." So obviously, whatever the injury is, they're looking at it. They're waiting to see how much of an impact that kick has had on him. Has it injured him to an extent where he can't participate, or is there a situation now that he just needs a couple of days rest, relaxation, and then he'll be back and able to play? Danny went on to say this. He says, "Bojan has now scored 3 goals in 2 games. I think we've been waiting for this. Now he feels more confident." And I think that's a big thing. You look at Bojan Miovski, and he looks a lot more confident now. He looks a lot more, on it, sharp, because that confidence has started to return to him. And I think he's a confidence player. He's a confidence player, and strikers a lot are, confidence players. They certainly are. He went on to say it would be helpful if he's available, especially now for the busy schedule in the next few weeks. And I concur with that. I think when you've got a striker who's in form, a striker who's hit his straps, a striker who's getting his goals, you've got to keep playing him. And you've got to keep putting him up there. But yeah, so look, definitely I hope tonight, fingers crossed tonight. Welcome, Emmy. Welcome to the next level of the membership. Thank you for joining. But yeah, look, guys, he's a quality player, and hopefully he is available. My worry tonight is if Bojan Miovski is not available, how do Rangers line up? How do they play? Because Bojan goes, I don't think Bayrami will be available tonight. Looking at what was previously said about the muscle injury and about it not being as positive, the scan not being as positive as they'd hoped, I think he's going to be out for a few weeks. But yeah, so there we go. So look, I think it is a situation where we're going to have to wait on Bayrami, and he could be fit, he could not be fit, but I don't think he'll be available tonight. The touch and go one for tonight is Miovski, and like I said, my worry is if the Miovski isn't available, who do we play? How do we play? How do we line up at this moment in time? And I'm concerned about that one. I'd like to see Nsiala play, but I don't think he will. I genuinely think there is a reticence to play him for whatever reason. I don't get to see him in training. I don't know what he's like in training. Perhaps there's an issue there in training, maybe. But at the end of the day, I don't know what the issue is there. I think it's almost like, to be honest with you, the team kind of picks itself for tonight if players are not available, if players are injured. I think it kind of picks itself for tonight a little bit in terms of the players. I'd be tempted to go with, if Miovski isn't fit, I'd be tempted to go with something like this tonight. Butland in goal, back 3, Sterling, Giga and Fernandez. Sterling is the right side centre-back, Giga. Fernandez, I know he's not great, but no Cornelius, no Suter. Tav is a dreadful centre-back. Aarons can't play centre-back. Nsiala, for whatever reason, isn't in favour, and I'm going to talk a little bit about him in a minute. So, again, I just can't see it happening. Then a midfield, 4 of Tavernier as right wing-back, Magoma as left wing-back, Raskin and Barron in the middle. And then a front 3 of Curtis, Danilo and Cameron. I know Danny's not the best, and I know Danilo is not great at this moment in time, but he's better than Chimiti, and that's where I'd go with him. And I wouldn't play Gassama, because I just think Gassama is off it at the moment. I genuinely think Gassama's head's turned. I think his head's been turned by the link to Villarreal, so I do kind of a little bit of a concern on that one. Gogic has won the League Cup. I'd go for Gogic. Surely Curtis is a 9, not Chimiti, says David Hutchinson. You'd hope. Owen, it's going to have to be Danilo. Chimiti should be nowhere near. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. Play Moore as a 10 tonight. That's a good shout. Yeah, I think he could get a run out tonight. That's a good shout. I've actually forgotten about him. William Duffy says, if Miovski is out, I'd go with Curtis or Gentles. Can't be worse than Danilo or Chimiti. Yeah, good shout. Good shout. Curtis played as a 9 in the under-21s. He did. Harvey says, Mikey Moore playing as a false 9. Maybe play. Yeah, that's a shout. That's a shout as well. Mikey Moore's looked good, hasn't he? I think since Danny Rohl's moved him more centrally and away from playing on the wing, he's looked a player. He's looked a very, very good player. And I think he's looked the kind of player that Tottenham fans told us we were getting in him, you know, rather than the player that we kind of looked at and gone, God, he's crap. 40 million is on strikers, and you can't depend on either to replace Miovski. That is a sad state of affairs, Airwolf. I agree on that one. £14.5 million on Danilo and Chimiti, and you cannot depend on either. Airwolf says would take north of 5 mil for Gassama. Well, according to the reports, Airwolf, Rangers are looking for around about 4.5 million for him. Double their money. Gassama looks disinterested now. He certainly does. Go out and bring back Robbie Ure. William says, decent shout. He's doing quite well in Holland, apparently. So, yeah, look, my worry tonight is if there's no Miovski, who goes up top? How do we play? I'd love to see Cameron and Curtis get more minutes. I am genuinely perplexed as to why he doesn't. Don't understand why NCI isn't getting any game times today. Yeah, David, I agree on that one. I don't know either. I'm going to talk a little bit about a story about that in a minute. But, yeah, I don't know. I'd love to see Cameron and Curtis get a run out. I just don't see why they're not getting it. I don't, see why they're not getting minutes. Both of them are young, aggressive, attacking talents. Whenever they've played, they've looked good. So for me, yeah, I don't believe it. Why do I suspect no win percentage? Probably because Thirlwell's an idiot, mate. Would you get rid of Chimiti? That's the big question. Yes, I would. I'd sell him tomorrow, Janet, if I could. Must admit, I was giving Mikey Moore pelters. Hold my hands up. Me too, David. Me too. Bring Declan John back, says Thierry. Funny, mate, funny. The manager should tell Gassama if he's not interested, then he won't get higher than Sheffield Wednesday. I don't know what's wrong with Gassama. When he first came to the club, he looked a hell of a player. He looked like, I think I mentioned on a video the other day, he looked like the player who could kind of get bums off seats, who could, really run at players and be exciting. But he isn't that, is he? He's just not all that. I don't get what's up with him. I really don't. I don't get why he's not playing. I think it could be a heads turn moment. Maybe a heads turn moment. Maybe his head is elsewhere. Possibly. That's a big one. Bojangles says, I think the players that aren't interested should be punted, especially if profit is involved. Agreed. I think if we're going to make a profit on them, or at least break even on them, sell them. Who'd buy him? Oh, Janet, I don't know. You'd probably find some mug somewhere in Europe that'd play him. Kit Emmy, Dowell up front. No thanks. I'd free Chimiti, cut our losses and move on. Sometimes, William, you have to. Sometimes you pay a lot of money for a player. When you look at the player and he doesn't work out, you kind of turn around and go, yeah, that's not worked out. We're just going to have to let him go because he's just not the player we thought he was. Not the player that we thought he was. So, I don't know what the situation is with that one. Braga, 400,000. Shanklin free. Kitana, 600,000. Mulligan free. Tree guard. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know. It's a weird one. Isn't it? It's a weird one. I'd get rid of all of them. I really would. A lot of those players. There's a lot of players. Yeah, absolutely a lot of players, guys. Sorry, I'm just going to have to take this phone call for a minute. My daughter's ringing. Hi guys, sorry I'm back. That was my daughter phoning me. Just telling me, look, I know this is not Rangers related, but my daughter is a big dancer. She's a dancer. Loves dancing. She's just got into her dance university that she had to audition for, so she's like been in tears on the phone to me now. So my daughter Rebecca has just got into her dance university. So that's what that phone call was about, guys. Sorry about the break off there. But yeah, all good, guys. All good now. Dowd is a leader. Lol. No, he's not. No, he's not. Hopefully, it's Braga wanting to come to the Jers from Hearts. Yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't, mate. Unfortunately, it was. It was my daughter. Where did I get to? Oh, thrown off there by that one. Thrown off there by that one. Yeah, so, I mean, look, tonight's game is big. It's big. But look, looking at thank you, sis. Thank you, Airwolf. Thank you, we are the people. Right, some news that is just kind of looking around. According to reports in the media at this moment in time, thank you, Janet, Rangers are open to selling Rothwell, Matondo, Dowell and Nsiala, thank you, David, in January. That's the story. That all those players are interested in being sold. I mean, to me, that's great news. To me, that is spot on news. I think if we were to get rid of Joe Rothwell, if we were to get rid of Robbie Matondo, if we were to get rid of Kieran Dowell, if we were to get rid of even... I mean, look, I don't get the Nsiala thing. I genuinely don't get the Nsiala thing. And I'd love to know your thoughts on this. What has Nsiala done so wrong that he's pissed off so many managers? And this is a player, remember, that came to us with Paolo Maldini talking about him being one of the best centre-backs he's seen in a long time. And people talking about how excellent he was on the ball and all this. Thank you, Robert. You know, I don't know. I don't know that. Janet, I agree. We do need to move more than that. But the problem is you can't clear out your squad in January because you've got to maintain the squad. I think the time for the big clear out, Janet, will come in the summer. Chris Jack can fuck off, mate. I can't stand Chris Jack. I think he's a knob, Thierry. Yeah, so, you know, look, I think, you know, you're looking at that. Apparently, what we're looking at in terms of fees, Joe Rothwell, maybe he's a bad influence, Elf. Yeah, good shout. Butland, Rothwell up front, lol. Your daughter has people scouting her for dance classes, more scouts than watching Chimity. Yes, we are the people. Rangers Review are saying that in terms of Rothwell, we will get our money back for him. That's it. It's about £3.5 million coming back into the club. Look, I think a break even on Rothwell is a hell of a bit of business, if I'm being honest with you. If we can break even on Rothwell, it's a strong possibility. Now, the two clubs apparently that are now in for him, Sheffield United are in pole position apparently to sign him, but it's also been talked this morning that Derby County are in for the player. Again, a player who came in with such hype, such high hopes for him. I mean, I must say I had really high hopes for Joe Rothwell. When I heard Leeds fans talking about him, and then I spoke to another content creator called Joe Wainman about him, and Joe was like raving about him, saying what a good player he was for Leeds. And then he comes up to Scotland, and he's just an absolute abject disaster. So yeah, I genuinely don't get that one. I genuinely don't get that one. You know, it hasn't worked out. I mean, look, people have talked about us using him in the wrong position. You know, people talk about how he's very quick over 20 yards, how he should be used as more forward, you know, in sort of the 10 role or in an 8 role, but certainly not as a 6. You know, maybe we've got that wrong. Maybe he's another Sam Lammers to some degree. But it's never really worked out. So if we can break even on him, then that's decent money. Matondo and Dowell apparently are just basically deemed surplus to requirements. You know, in terms of that, they're just deemed as surplus to requirements. But the problem is going to be getting someone to take them. Now the talk here in England is that Dowell is a loan to Hull, initially with an option to buy. I'd be looking for putting an obligation to buy into that contract if we're going to get rid of Kieran Dowell. Again, a player who's just never worked out. Never worked out up here. Really hasn't. Time for him to go, I think it is. And as for Matondo, look, my worry is that we're never going to get rid of him because at the end of the day, who wants him? Who wants Matondo? He went off to Germany, failed there. You know, he's had a hard time, hasn't he? He's had a hard time. You know, I don't know. Airwolf says, what about Triantes? Yeah, Nectaris Triantes is a good footballer. He's a 6, isn't he? Did well at Hibs. I don't know where he is. Is he still at Hibs now, I think? Let's have a little look. He is currently at Minnesota United. He signed for Minnesota United. that's where he's gone now. So he's actually left Sunderland, gone from Hibs, joined Major League Soccer club Minnesota United for an undisclosed fee. So he's out there. Maybe worth looking at. Maybe he might come back to Scotland. Absolutely. Airwolf says would take nothing for Dowell and Matondo. Look, if we can get $1 million for each, I'd take it. Airwolf really would. I thought a football pitch was 90 yards, so being good over 20 for fuck's sake, really. Yeah, I mean that is the thing, isn't it? Yeah, he is in the MLS now. I remember Rothwell coming on as a sub, looking really good. Then he got injured. Lol. Rothwell just looks like he's really unfit to me. Rothwell looks like he is really, really unfit to me. Just doesn't look fit at all. Guys, remember, we have got a poll running. Predictions for tonight's game. 85% of you saying a Rangers win. 5% a Hibs win. And 10% going for a draw tonight in this game. Look, this game to me is crucial. I hope Celtic give Nancy a lifetime contract, says we other people. Yeah, absolutely. Give him a deal. Give him a full-time deal. I think that would be a great bit of business for them. I think it'd be spot on. I mean, look, well, I'm looking at the run of fixtures we've got coming up over the next few weeks, and this is massive. It's massive over these next few weeks. If you look at our next 6 games. Just take our next 6 for a minute, okay? We've got Hibs today at home, Hearts away, Motherwell at home, St Mirren at home, Celtic away, Aberdeen at home. If we can come out of that with 6 wins, and that's what we look. I know that might be a bit arrogant. I know that might be a bit what you're talking about, Owen. But if we can come out of that run with 6 wins, with 6 victories, then we're going to be right in there. Honestly, we'll be right in there. And look, this league ain't that good this year. You know, the fact that this squad, that's not even a very good squad, is still in touch at the top with those teams, given how badly we've played this season, after the damage that Russell Martin did, is incredible. So, you know, we've got obviously that game. Hearts away is probably, for me, is the toughest fixture. I know we've got Celtic away, but Hearts away, for me, is the toughest fixture we've got out of that little run of 6. Going up to Tynecastle, we need to get the result there. It's going to be massive. That is going to be a massive game. If we win that game, then I'll be prepared to say that the title is back on. If we don't win the game, then I'll say probably they're going to win it. But I would honestly be prepared to say if we go to Tynecastle on the 21st and win that game, title's back on. Motherwell at home, again, you know, I know Motherwell are doing well this season, but that's a game we should be winning. It's at Ibrox. St Mirren have done fantastic this season. Obviously won the Cup yesterday. Stephen Robinson, top manager. I would have taken him at Rangers. Again, it's at Ibrox, a game we should be winning. Celtic are Celtic, you know, they're not a good side. And I think had Danny Rohl been a bit more aggressive and a bit more proactive in that semi-final, we probably would have beaten them. And also, obviously, not had the player sent off. And Aberdeen at home, again, it's at Ibrox. Again, a game we should not be worrying about. You know, that's definitely the case. Let's have a look at some of your comments now. Going through this one. Would you be open to Joe Raribo back? Yes, I would. He's an experienced player. Definitely would. 3 points tonight, and the puddle drinkers will go into panic. Agreed. 4-1 Hibs are 4-1 Hibs are shite, says Robert Rankin. Good prediction. I'd take that. I'd take Raribo and Nathan Patterson back, says We Are the People. I suppose the only downside with Patterson, We Are the People, is his injury record hasn't been great since he's left Rangers, and we've got enough injured players at this club. Would you take losses against Hearts if it meant Celtic lost the title? Yes, if I knew that was guaranteed, Airwolf, but nothing is guaranteed in football. Nothing is guaranteed in football. Bring in Gogic and McKenna, Kenny McLean or Lewis Ferguson, and a good target man, game changer, William Duffy. I don't think we'd get Lewis Ferguson, but yeah, I think McKenna and Gogic, yeah, good shouts for him. McLean, yeah, good shout. Bring in some experience. I think there will be some experienced players coming in January. I think there will be. Get 19 points and 21, can win the league, says We Are the People. A decent Celtic side will be 12 to 15 ahead at this point. Airwolf, I agree. And I think there's a lot of Celtic fans and a lot of Celtic analysts who are very deluded on how good this Celtic team are. They're not a good side. They're not Ange Postecoglou's Celtic. Emmy says, Rothwell looks your typical white male, homeless in his 50s heroin addict. He does look a bit like a tramp. I have said that. Septic are in complete meltdown. It's brilliant to sit back and watch, says Janet. They are falling apart again, Janet. They are. Chat to my town. Paisley League is ours. Rangers will beat Hearts and Hibs and Hearts this week, says We Are the People. Let's hope so. 6 points out of these next 2, mate, and I think the league will be very much back on again with the right signings in January. I'll just caveat that. With the right signings in January. I think as long as we get the right signings in January, for me, and it might all change tonight. If we lose tonight, it could all change. It's nice to look a little bit more optimistically. I know our European form is so poor, but forget Europe now. Domestically, we're doing okay. So, I think domestically we're doing okay. 100%, I know it's wishful thinking, but love takes over. So, yes, go on the famous. Nancy makes Russell Martin look like Jurgen Klopp. He does. When we have the chance to put pressure on, we bottle it. And I think that's going to be a big test, Airwolf. That can Danny Rohl turn that round? Can Danny Rohl turn us into a team who can handle pressure, can put results together? Can Danny Rohl do that? I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think if Danny Rohl can do that, if Danny Rohl can get that change of mentality, and I think what was good was post that game against Ferencvaros, he sat the team down and he went over the mistakes and basically said, look, this is not acceptable. This is just not acceptable. Do you understand me? You should have done this, this and this. It's not acceptable. And I think he's been very clear with them. And I think he's been very much prescriptive as, I want this. This is what I expect to see. And if you can't produce this, if you can't live up to the expectations I'm setting you, then there's the door. Use it. And I think he is getting to the point where he's actually genuinely pissed off with them. He is genuinely pissed off with some of the players, and he is letting them know that he is not happy with them. And they've got to sort themselves out or they're gone. And I think some of these players do need to realise that they've got a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The likes of Yusuf Chimiti, the likes of Thelo Asgard, the likes of Joe Rothwell, the likes of Manny Fernandez, the likes of, of these guys. They've got to realise that realistically, from here, the only way is down. The only way is down. Thelo Asgard is not going to get a transfer to a big championship or a big Premier or to a Premier League club based on what he's done in Scotland. He's going to get a transfer to a lower championship or a League One team. That's where he's going to go. There'll be no European football. There'll be no 50,000+ crowds. There'll be no Ibrox. There'll be no playing for one of the biggest teams in Europe. It'll be just playing for a shit team somewhere in the lower leagues in England. The same will go for a number of those players. And they've got to get their heads around that. They've got a great opportunity here to be a superstar, to kick on. And if they do just see Rangers as a stepping stone to bigger things, which some of them will, as much as that pains me to say it, some of them will, they've got to start taking it. They've got to start taking it. We have to stop the rot when this lot's struggling and grab the... Yeah, I agree, Janet. Thierry says, any other teams that the Rangers should look at from St Mirren? I don't know. I'll have to do a bit of research, Thierry. Hope 49ers have their mistakes out of their system. Me too, Airwolf. Kavanagh can't afford many more mistakes. He can't. He genuinely can't. Whether that's Greta Steinson giving him bad advice or whether that he was listening to Patrick Stewart and Kevin Thelwell too much, I don't know. But something does need to change. Unfortunately, Tav needs dropped. For his own sake, Aaron's has improved slightly, but not the answer. But Tav looked... Yeah, he did. Tav's legs have gone. And there's a lot... And I still get a hell of a lot of shit from Tav fanboys, but his legs have gone. He's done. He's finished. He's 3 seasons past his sell-by date. And what's sad, and I actually feel sad for Tav, because, look, whether you hate James Tavernier now, or you love him still, or whether you just put up with him, he did contribute an awful lot to this football club in the past. The run to Seville, the 55, etc., etc. But he's kind of ruining his legacy. He's, if you look back now, and you look back at James Tavernier's career, it's kind of going to be ruined by the last few years. People are not really going to remember the good times. They're going to remember the abuse, and they're going to remember for fuck's sake, Tav. That's what they're going to remember. It's better to, what was it, the saying, the Batman saying, it's better to die a hero than become the villain. And Tav's in danger of becoming the villain. He really is in danger of becoming the villain. And if he's got any self-respect, he needs to go at the end of this season. Unfortunately, Tav needs to be out. I agree with that. St Mirren have won the League Cup. Hearts win the league. Dundee United win the Cup. Rangers and Celtic finish 4th and 5th in the league. Possible, I suppose. I don't see it happening, but possible. How is the equaliser still in a job, says the Airwolf. Tav's entirely gone, says Emmy. I wouldn't give Tav and Suter a year's extension. I'd extend Suter, but not Tav. Tav has gave his all for Rangers, but when your time is up, it's up. Simple as that. And it's, as I said on the previous pod, as much as I hate Gary Neville because he's a Man United player, ex-Man United player. He's a Man United to the core. You've got to realise that when your time is up, your time is up. And it's time to stop playing. And when your legs have gone, you've got to realise that. And you've got to go. And Tav's not realised that. And that's a big sad one. Right, guys, tonight, predictions. What are your predictions for tonight? I'm going to go for Rangers to win, unsurprisingly. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Rangers tonight. That's my prediction for tonight's game. There it is in black and white in the live chat. Let me know your predictions as we come to an end tonight. Obviously, we'll be back at around 7:30 tonight for the watch along. So please, obviously, come and join us for the watch along. You know, it would be fantastic if you could. But yeah, 4-0 says we are the people. 1-0 Rangers. Mate, look, hey, well, I'd take any win at this point. I really genuinely would take any win at this point forward. I really would genuinely take any point. Guys, thank you for joining me this afternoon. Chimity hat-trick, you are a funny man. I hear you. And raised you 3-0. Emmy, good on you. 2-0 Rangers, says Janet. We are the people. Chimity hat-trick. Mate, I'd love that. I'd love it. As much as I criticise the guy. Look, can I just get one thing clear? We all as fans have opinions, right? We have opinions. And we all are entitled to our opinions. Whether you sit there and you think, fuck's sake, what are you talking about? Or whether you actually go, yeah, I agree with that. You're entitled to your opinion. But sometimes you're wrong. And I'm happy to be wrong. If Chimity comes out tonight and scores a hat-trick or scores 2 or 3 goals, I'll be over the moon because it means we win. And anyone that sits there and says, oh, Owen, you hate this player, you hate that player, you just want to see them fail. No, I don't. If we win tonight because James Tavernier scores a penalty and a free kick, I will be over the moon because we've won the game. I don't care who scores. I don't care how we win, as long as we win. You know, it really doesn't bother me who scores for us, as long as someone bloody scores for us and we win the game. At the end of the day, we all want Rangers to win. That's what we want. Whether it be a Tav hat-trick, a Chimity hat-trick, a Miovski hat-trick, an own goal that goes in off Martin Boyle's arse. I don't care, as long as we win the fucking game. 2-0 says William Duffy. Chimisit, yes, he's got to get some time, says we other people. We all want Chimity to succeed. It just won't happen, says William. Look, and sometimes it doesn't with players. Sometimes it doesn't. No one wants a player to fail. No one wants a player. If you are a Rangers fan and you sign a player, and we sign a player and you want him to fail, then you're wanting the club to fail. Why would you want your own team to fail? Question, genuinely. Chimity is fire. That's a good, well, he's on fire maybe, but if Chimity scored a hat-trick, he'd be hailed as a god, lol. What time? Watch on 7:30, Airwolf. 7:30 start. Right, guys, that is it for this afternoon. I will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me this morning. Thank you to all, this afternoon, sorry. Thank you to all your comments. It's been fabulous speaking with you again. Guys, look, just a reminder, we have won 107 out of 154 games. We are a 69%, not 67, a 69% win ratio, percentage win ratio against Hibs. They've won under 21. And the last time we lost to them was in 2018. And we're 21 games unbeaten against them. Let's hope it is still 21 games unbeaten after tonight. Guys, thank you for watching Glasgow Rangers Nation. As always, please like, please comment, please share, and donate, and become a member, and do all that great stuff. Ring the bell, do all the great stuff for me. Catch you next time.